boys and girls. Hey, I thought that I would do a long-promised tour of the chicken coop this morning. I've been out here kind of trying to get some stuff done in the garden, and I thought, hey, kind of a nice day to go ahead and do that chicken coop tour. So we're gonna go into the chicken yard. See these fancy gate that Joel made me for my chicken yard. So we did put up this brand new fencing for the chicken coop area, and for what you can see here is our garden area behind me, and we have a little gate that connects our chicken coop area to our gardening area so that the chickens can go out there and do some work for us. I have been working to try and get things set up so that the chickens can pick the weeds in between the raised beds for us. You'll see that we currently have the chickens doing some work in the garden area for us. I'm going to open up this gate here. I've covered the fencing with shade fabric, but what this shade fabric, in addition to providing shade for the chickens in the chicken area, it also keeps the dust down when it's hot and dry outside. So I put that up between the garden area and the chicken area. And then, sorry, might make you guys a little dizzy here, turning around. And I've also put it on the fencing in the lower area to our patio to keep the dust down on our patio as well. Now this is the garden area. Some of you guys may have seen this garden area before on other garden vlogs that we've done. This is the area where we put in our raised beds. And you'll see that I've covered some of the raised beds today with cardboard and newspaper. And I did that to keep the nutrients in the soil, as you should either compost at the end of fall or beginning of spring. And you cover your beds to keep the nutrients in the soil. And you can typically just turn the newspaper into your soil at the end of winter. So beginning of spring, when you're turning up your soil and getting ready to start planting again, you can just typically turn the wet newspaper into the beds. So you'll see that we've done that, and you'll see that my chickens are doing a little work for us. They're picking some weeds and things like that. Now, ideally, I don't really want them in my raised beds. I don't want them to pick out my worms and things like that out of my raised beds. So I'm working on getting some of this fabric put in, which is it's just a little row cover to help protect the plants, but I'm using it to keep the chickens out of the bed so I can keep my worms and good things inside my garden bed. So I'm working on doing that. You can see I still have a little bit more to do behind me here in terms of covering the beds and keeping the chickens out, as they will pick out my good bugs out of my garden beds, and I don't really want them to do that. But I do want them to help me pull all the weeds and all the grass out from between the rows. So hopefully that will be going smoothly here shortly. And I'm closing them up in the garden area so that they keep doing my work for me today. Now, I promised a tour of the chicken coop, and we did build what we refer to as the chicken mansion, our little red and white hen hut here. So some of the things that I've done to the coop to help make it more convenient for us is one of the things that I've done is I've added a automatic door open and close, what you want to call it. The word escapes me right now. So an automatic door opener and closer for the chickens. And this particular one here, we use this one because it can be set to a timer, so to open and close at a specific time of day, or it can also be set to when it's light outside, so a photo cell on it, so it will open and close when it's light outside. And you can see that we have a door here that critters can't readily push open. Now, when we first moved into the house, they did have a chicken coop in the chicken yard, but that particular one required that we open or close the door every morning and every night. And we accidentally left the door open one evening, and one of our chickens got by a raccoon. So we decided, rather than have that happen again, to go ahead and get an automatic door open for our chicken coop. Another thing that I added with this chicken coop, it was important for the chickens to have an area where they can go stay dry, as when they're wet and soggy, it invites things like mites and lice to get in their feathers and make them uncomfortable and sick. So one of the things and the reasons why I made this chicken coop so big as far as square footage is because underneath you'll see here that they have some gravel and a dry space where they can go when it's raining outside. I've also added a large tub that's full of dusting powder so that they can go in there and dust so that they can take care of their pests and bugs themselves, and it keeps them pretty happy to be able to do that. I also have a little litter scoop here. This is just to make sure that their dusting powder stays free of chicken droppings and things like that, and gravel that they tend to kick inside the tub. So you'll also notice we have a little gutter on our chicken coop. I had initially decided that we would use rainwater collection to help keep their watering dish full. You can see that I have yet to connect it to their watering dish. I really kind of have been having a hard time finding a water dish that can handle that and handle the level of self-watering. I may decide to use a 5-gallon bucket chicken waterer setup in the future. Right now we have the metal tub. This seems to work pretty well, but the trouble that I have with these ones is that they have to stay level in order to keep the water in the dish. Otherwise it just spills out and then we have an empty water dish. So more to come on that feature. We also have we also have a solar panel. This is a new addition to our chicken coop that I'm very pleased with. I got a solar powered light for in the chicken coop. We had been using a light that was plugged in via an extension cord that ran into the fish room. And we had an issue, even though it was an outdoor extension cord, it still got a lot of moisture inside the extension cord and it ended up blowing out the chicken lamp, and we're pretty lucky that it didn't cause a fire. So I decided to go solar, which was something I was meaning to do with the chicken coop anyway. You know, I have a lot of lights in the yard out here and a lot of them are solar powered, and I'm very pleased with the way that they function. Very happy with the amount of light and how they also are motion detectors in the yard, so I know when there's a critter out here too. So pretty happy with the performance of the solar lights that we have in our yard as well. So you'll see one of them on the fence behind me here. So pretty happy with that performance, and I really wanted to get a solar light on the inside of the coop as well. Our coop here opens up. The whole side comes open, and the intention with this was to be able to clean the coop easily. You can see with the very large opening that someone can easily climb inside and get the floor taken care of in here. I had thought about doing a mesh floor to let the droppings just fall through, but again, I wanted the lower area of the coop to be a place where they could go and stay dry if it's raining outside. Inside the coop here, we do have a window. Don't clean it very often. I thought the window would be a great idea to be able to check on the chickens from time to time, which it's been nice to do that, but it also causes some confusion for the chickens because they don't realize that there's glass in the way. So when we first put the window in, they were trying to go through the window to get outside and very confused as to why they couldn't make it out the window. So nice for us, not so nice for the chickens. Here you'll see our little solar light in the top of the chicken coop. And this little solar light puts off quite a bit of light, and pretty happy with the lighting situation with this solar light. And it was something that we were very easily able to install on the coop. So pretty happy with that. We keep our chicken food inside the coop, so you'll see their little feeder hanging here and full of food. This is to reduce rodent activity in the chicken yard. If we feed our chickens table scraps or garden scraps, we do so in the morning. And I do try and keep the yard free of other food garbage by the evening time, just to reduce the interest of rodents coming in here and snacking on whatever may be left in the chicken yard. I really don't want to encourage them to hang out in this area. We did end up taking out the cherry tree, which was our shade in the chicken area, but we took it out because the cherries that fell off the tree, it was a very large tree, very unkept cherry tree, and all it did was litter cherries on the ground, which rats found very enticing, and they also found the seeds very tasty. So we were finding little cherry seed shells all over the place. We did have kind of a significant rodent issue for a little while when we first moved in here, and that seems to have subsided. The cherry tree is gone, and we've done some things to secure the chicken area. We added mesh. I don't know if you can see this. We added mesh all along the base area and the fencing around the entire chicken coop area, and it's dug down a foot or so under the fencing to keep things from tunneling or burrowing into the chicken area. So we try and keep that pretty secure. In addition, in the chicken coop area, this was one thing that I wasn't anticipating adding to the chicken coop. Originally, we had some wooden nesting boxes inside the coop, and I found it to be an issue because we did get a lice and mite infestation with the chickens, which I'm sad to say was probably a little bit my fault. I had a wild bird feeder, and we had it out in the yard initially, and it was starting to sprout plants in the grass that I didn't really want in our garden or our grass. So I decided, what a novel idea to just put it in the chicken yard, so when the seeds fell, the chickens could eat the seeds that the wild birds were kicking out onto the ground. Well, unfortunately, wild birds carry things that chickens can catch too, like lice and mites. So I did remove the wild bird feeder from the chicken area to discourage wild birds coming in and giving our chickens little pesties. So when we got that lice and mite infestation, I read all about it all over the place, all the articles, all the books that I could get my hot little hands on, and decided that I was going to take out the wooden nesting boxes because lice and mites will hide within any of the crevices of a wooden nesting box. And I toyed with the idea of doing some 5-gallon nesting boxes, but you know, time versus investment. I went ahead and went with this option, which is you can order on Amazon. It's a metal nesting box. The bottoms of these nesting boxes come right out, and they're very easy to clean, and they're not prone to getting pesties inside the metal nesting boxes like the wood ones or some other options may be more subject to having nice little places for pests to hide. And we do use some nesting pads in here, which are like twine over a paper bottom. We use these because the paper bottom keeps the chicken poop from sticking to the bottom of the nesting box, and we can just peel it right out, put it in the compost, and it's done. Put a new one in, and it's clean. So super easy to maintain this particular nesting box, and the chickens like using the perches out here as a place to roost at night. You'll also see, hopefully, let me see if I can bring it in a little bit. You can see at least one of the roosting sticks that we have here in the back of the coop, closer to the door area. We actually have 3 roosting sticks that hang across, and I just used some of those little closet dowel hanging devices to put the roosting sticks. Now I can take them out and reach the far back of the coop when I'm cleaning it. So that was a nice thing to be able to do. I had a hard time in our old coop getting the roosting sticks out of the way because we had permanently fastened them to the inside of the coop, which made it kind of difficult to get around them. And I didn't really like squishing myself up against the dirty roosting sticks to get the bottom of the floor clean. So that made it super easy for us to be able to clean. And we did put a linoleum floor in the coop, which I really am loving because it does make it very easy to get chicken mess off the bottom of the floor. And we can wash it and scrub it, and it works out just great. Anyway, that's kind of a little tour of our chicken coop, and hopefully you enjoyed it. I did a lot of research and things on what would make the best coop, and I took into account things that would make it easy for us to help keep our chickens comfortable and happy and healthy. So if you want any information about what we've used as far as products inside the coop, feel free to put a message on the bottom of the video or send a message to Joel, and we'll try and get you the information about the products that we've used inside the chicken coop and to help keep our little chickens happy. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your Sunday, and maybe we'll be doing some more chicken or garden vlogs in the future. You guys have a great day. Take care.